Good morning, everybody, and welcome to Monday's episode of Trending, brought to you by not even the brand new, just the new range of Iconic Coffee. Hope you had a fantastic weekend, and welcome to a brand new week. Gaz, how you doing this morning?
I'm all right, thanks, mate. The world's just as mad as it was. Obviously, we're not really going to cover that this week because I don't want to go totally crazy on it because it's just constant. But in terms of what's going on in Gaza, again, it's absolutely insane. Israel just dropping bombs on tents.
And hospitals, and openly saying hospitals now.
Yeah, they're not even hiding it anymore. They are so emboldened since the Orange Saviour came to power that they kind of do what they want.
And Conor McGregor now.
Oh,
don't forget.
Conor McGregor, yeah. Well, he knows what he has to say to try and get elected, doesn't he? Okay, so Russia bad, obviously. Now, over the weekend, you may have seen this story, ladies and gentlemen, where there was a fire at Heathrow Airport.
Yep.
All the power was taken out. The airport was closed for a series of days, leaving hundreds of thousands of people stranded. Obviously, you've got to blame that on the Russians, haven't you?
Yeah, absolutely. It's too easy an opportunity not to.
Too good opportunity to miss. This is a headline. This is the Daily Mail, which means it must be true. Counter-terrorism police probe Heathrow fire amid claims of Russian sabotage. Substation blaze fits the pattern of Putin's disruptive attacks in Europe and exposes vulnerability in the UK infrastructure, say expert. Doesn't specify who the experts are, of course. Now, the vulnerability in the UK's energy infrastructure is being caused by ourselves, by our own country and their net zero madness. And it's not just the Labour Party, it's consecutive governments whose basic sole objective is to destroy this nation and send it back to the Stone Ages so then they can rebuild out of the ashes, the new normal, the build back better, the you will own nothing and you'll be happy. That's the plan. But it's also about demonising Russia at every turn. So we've got this here. There's a fire at Heathrow. That's bad, isn't it? Yeah, must be the Russians then. Last week, or was it the week before? I think it was just about the week before. There was the crash in the North Sea.
Yep, North Sea tanker.
Between a tanker, a US-flagged oil tanker, and I think it maybe had aviation fuel in it, whatever, a tanker, and a cargo ship. Then suddenly it was, hang on. The captain of the cargo ship was Russian. Oh no, it must be an act of war then. And obviously all the usual suspects across the mainstream media jumped on that saying, oh my God, was this done intentionally?
Yep.
Could you imagine if the captain had been from, literally apart from Iran, pick another nation on the planet? They wouldn't care.
It wouldn't even be mentioned, probably. Wouldn't even be part of the news story.
If the captain was Romanian, it wouldn't be making headlines in the New York Times, but it did. And the headline was, captain of tanker is Russian, claims tanker operator or whatever it was.
Over 130 million people in Russia.
Yeah, well, one of them's up to no good, obviously. At the same time, you got Prince William sat inside a tank, in a NATO tank in Estonia, with his little head poking out.
Oh yeah, in his little uniform.
All
his medals that he's got for flying nothing.
Yeah, all the medals he's got for nothing, because that's what the royal family get. They get plenty of medals. My favourite's Prince Andrew and Prince Edward, the youngest son of the Queen.
Did you see them? They've never seen a bullet fired in anger.
Honestly, he's got it out of a pack of Weetabix probably. But yeah, Prince William was sat there looking like a little barnacle on top of the tank. And then he's posing there with soldiers and stuff. And again, it's about sending that message to different aspects within the British society. Because what they want consent, of course, to go and fight the Russians. That's what it's all about. So you send your celebrities over there because then that appeals to a certain demographic. And then you have your government ministers and your army types going over there. And that appeals to another demographic, those very sort of shrinking group of people that actually believe the government. And then you've still got the royalists.
Yeah, and there's a big crossover of them. There's a lot of people that, are very anti-system, anti-government that are still royalists. I've never understood it.
Never understood it either.
Never understood it at all. People that during, lockdowns and things like that were very outspoken and very gobby, but then, were putting eulogies up when the Queen died. It's extraordinary. How do you square that circle?
It's your anti-racists that are royalists that I love as well. It's like, we shouldn't judge people by their heritage, the colour of their skin, or their genes, their genealogy, and where they come from. We should all be equal. I love the Queen. I love the King. Why are they elevated to a position of power? Oh, because of their genealogy.
Yeah. Also, one of the most racist families you could find, to be fair.
Well, absolutely, yeah. Well, there you go. But so for me, that was about getting consent from people that support the royal family. Is that kind of, if the future king can be that close to the Russian border, if he's got the courage to stand there in his uniform, then surely we should have the courage to stand up to Putin as well. And then obviously you've got all the stuff that's gone back years where the Russians caused Brexit by hacking the elections. The Russians got Trump elected the first time with Russian collusion.
Ski poles.
Mate, that in Salisbury.
Yeah.
Well, actually, it was only a few days ago. I think it was the 7-year anniversary of that piece of theatre. And again, all the media class and the parasite class were all eulogising about, you know, the strength of the security forces and how we were trying to repel the Russians, and talking about what happened in Salisbury. Where obviously these two, the ski pools, or however you pronounce their name, they basically got poisoned with Novichok, which is a nerve agent that basically kills you if you look at a picture of it. But they suddenly managed to survive, despite being covered in it.
And a young innocent person sadly did lose their life.
Yeah, the whole thing was a nonsense. It was another way of demonising Russia. The fact that you know, Portham Down is sort of
up the road,
had nothing to do with it.
Oh no, but a guy there told Johnson it definitely was Novichok, didn't he?
Oh, it must be believed then.
Yeah.
And if Boris Johnson parroted it, then absolutely it's true, isn't it? Especially now, today, you know, what is it, 5 years since he locked us down, that libertarian Boris Johnson? Now, this is another story. I will shut up in a minute, Joe, I promise. This is another story. This is the Daily Mail. The awful truth about Vladimir Putin's mother and how her brush with the most gruesome of deaths made him so barbaric. Right? So actually the story is about the horrors that his mother went through, right? But we need to twist that, because you might start to feel sorry for the Putin family if you learn about the horrors his mother went through. So what we'll do is we'll use that for, oh no, that's why he's an animal. Okay. And what you do with that is obviously you demonize the man, you turn him into a monster, and therefore you garner that consent for basically fighting an unwinnable war, which is what this is all about. And just finally, before I shut up, I saw this actually yesterday. Now, we've spoke about before the fact that the mainstream media and all the government officials and civil servants, like that, they've memory holed what happened in Ukraine and the real reason for the Russian invasion, going all the way back to 2014. They've memory hold it. So it's like you had Ross Kemp, who played Grant Mitchell in EastEnders, hanging out with neo-Nazis in Ukraine. You can still get that on iPlayer, I think.
Yeah, Ukraine on Fire, I think it's called. Yeah.
That was the documentary. But either way, they were both showing that there were Nazis in Ukraine, and they were being broadcast by the mainstream media, and now suddenly that didn't happen.
No, that's not true.
That didn't happen. So I'll read you this headline. This is from 2014. This is from The Guardian. I think this was in The Guardian before it got a D notice from British intelligence and basically got taken over by the security services. In Ukraine, the US, this is 2014, in Ukraine, the US is dragging us towards war with Russia. Washington's role in Ukraine and its backing for the regime's neo-Nazis has huge implications for the rest of the world.
It's kind of there in black and white, isn't it?
It's changed a little bit, isn't it?
Yeah, it's not true anymore.
Suddenly neo-Nazis in Ukraine is a conspiracy theory. It's misinformation. It's dangerous.
Well, and that's where, you know, the sad thing is they know most people won't do the research. Whereas you can still if you just put into any search engine now, Nazis Ukraine 2014, you'll find that story, and you'll find lots of others like it. You'll find the TV series and the films that you mentioned. Yeah. It's not that difficult, but they know most people won't do that. They know most people will see the headline, they'll see the story, they'll see the newsreader, and they'll just buy it. Yeah. And you're right, it's a really interesting point that they're ticking every demographic of people, whether it be royalists, whether it be your sort of will fight them on the beaches types, whether it be, you know, your academic, all those, they're kind of ticking every box, aren't they, in terms of trying to get them to appease a war. Yeah. And I think one thing that's worth mentioning, while you talked about Estonia, we were in Estonia, if you remember, back in 2016.
Yeah, you put a snowball down my back, I remember it well.
I did. It was minus 30. It was ridiculous. In November. And about 45 minutes to an hour outside of Tallinn, the capital, is that RAF base, that NATO base where Prince William was. I can't remember what the base is called, but it was at the time the head of the operation against Russia. It was called Operation Front Edge or something like that, a NATO operation. But anyway, a couple of local Estonians were talking to us and telling us that all the infrastructure in Estonia, the bridges, the tunnels, all of those road infrastructures had all been rebuilt in the previous 10 years to take the weight of heavy warfare, tanks, battlefield equipment, and so on. And they were all talking about how this, you know, if this kicks off, Estonia is a very small country. It's literally, Tallinn is 4 hours in a car from St. Petersburg. It's very, very close to the border. those countries are the ones in the firing line.
Oh, yeah.
Absolutely in the firing line. So that's just interesting to mention why I think it's significant that he was in Estonia.
Yeah. And just to say as well that he sat there on a tank now. As soon as war is declared against Russia, which I'm sure it will be, future King William will be nowhere bloody near it.
Oh, he'll be in his little bunker somewhere.
Of course he will. Apart from the odd photo op.
Oh, yeah, of course.
Yeah.
Right, so speaking of, declaring war and, always money for war, I think it's a very interesting subject to talk about because no one has ever come out and said we can't go to war, we can't afford it. There's always money. Yet there's never money for things that actually matter. And this is to do with, I've got both my stories today are to do with the economy here in the UK ahead of the spring statement in a few weeks' time from the Chancellor. But this is a story here from the Daily Express. Keir Starmer's Labour government projected to spend a colossal £6.43 trillion by 2029. Now that staggering amount comes in the days of this week, maybe even today. They're going to announce a massive slash to the civil service. Okay, again, people can probably get on board with that. There's so much wastage in government spending, but the question is where is that wastage and where are the cuts being made? Are they being made in the same place? Almost certainly not. And this takes the government spending to the highest outside of war. Highest outside of war. And this number, mate, is absolutely astonishing, right? In the time I'm going to say hello, UK government debt has risen by £6,000 every single second. And now that accumulates to £543 million per day.
Monopoly money.
So, yeah, monopoly money, that's not real, but it is real when it comes to who pays that back. And there's lots of evidence this week and suggestions that they're going to be pushing back to a state of austerity once again with massive cuts to public services. At the same time, they're spending money on military. They're spending money on big carbon catchers. They're spending money on churning up the countryside with HS2. All these things that don't actually make any sense, that don't actually help people day in, day out. They don't help, put food on the table, put a roof over your heads, have a car to drive, be able to live in a safe area, be able to actually have safe streets and a proper policing of that and education of the young, good healthcare. They don't go towards that.
No.
They go towards things that people don't want, don't care about, and that further your agenda. Now, I mean, it might sound like an idealistic point of view, but I don't understand how, essentially, when you look at the dynamic, the government take your money on your behalf to then spend it in the areas that are going to benefit you and your communities. If they're not doing that, how are they in power?
Well,
that's what I don't understand. If you did that now, if you said to everyone, lads, give me a tenner each and I'll book the train tickets to go and watch the match on Saturday, and then you went out and spent it all your mates are going to go, well, what are you doing? We're not giving you any money again.
Yeah.
Yet this happens time and time and time and time again, and people just think they have to accept it. They just have to accept it. It is what it is. The governments will always lie. They'll always spend money on what they want to spend. They'll always get in more debt. They'll always do this, always do that. It doesn't make any sense. And you've got a chancellor as well, and a government in general, who are so arrogant and so virtuous in their, we are the people. We are lovely people. We are, we will take care of people. We're not these nasty Tories. Well, as far as I'm concerned, the Tories were dreadful, but they didn't cut the personal independence payments for people. They didn't cut the winter fuel allowance for people. Cost of living was less than it is today. And the taxes were lower than they are today. While at the same time, you've got this government now who are cutting services, doing exactly the same, if not worse. Yeah. People are worse off. Energy prices are going up. And they're somehow claiming to be this virtuous group of people that, we have these fiscal rules. I mean, oh God, I'll lose my mind if I hear Rachel Reeves self-impose fiscal rules. Fiscal rules of what? You've got 100 quid and I'm going to spend $1 million. Well, that's not a fiscal rule. That's just mental. Yeah. And that's essentially what's happening. And our kids and grandkids are going to pay the price for it.
Well, they lied their way to power. But this is what makes me laugh. Like you mentioned there, the governments always lie. People have that attitude.
They do.
Governments always lie.
It's an apathy to it, isn't it?
Yeah, but they also only have that attitude until it's election season. Then suddenly, oh no, it's different this time.
Oh yeah.
Oh no, it'll be different this time. Honestly,
it'll be different. We got a Savile protector.
They've lied about everything, and that's what governments do to get into power. They say, I can do X, Y, and Z for you, and you go, oh, that sounds great. Yeah, go on, I'll vote for you. And then you come in and you don't do it. You do the opposite, and that's all Labour have done. Everything they've promised, They've done literally the opposite. It's not like I tried to get there, but I only got there. No. You've literally done the opposite of everything you said you'd do. And just when you said what story you were going to cover today, in terms of what the government is spending this money on, we're going to get Britain building. That was part of it. I'm speaking with a northern accent because I'm working class like Labour, just like you. So they're going to build 1.5 million homes across the UK. Now, the question when they said that in their campaign trail by a lot of people was, but homes for who, mate?
Yep. Legitimate question.
Obviously, you got called bigoted.
And also, how many empty homes are there now that are already built?
Exactly. Now, you got called a bigot for asking that question, but then what happens with conspiracy theories and apparently right-wing and far-right opinions is they then just become facts after a little period of time. And no one actually looks back and goes, well, maybe they weren't bigots then. Maybe actually they were saying what was happening. So this is a quote from the government. The government's commitment to build 1.5 million homes by 2029 would help reduce the use of hotels for asylum seekers.
There you go.
So that's who you're building the houses for then.
Jeez, man.
Just say the quiet part out loud, mate. Honestly. I literally ran a gauntlet. I didn't run, I walked. But a gauntlet of homeless people this morning just to get in here to film this. Yet we're building homes for people that are already being housed in hotels at taxpayers' expense. Honestly, it's ludicrous, mate.
It is completely ludicrous, but that's the point. When there's lots of ways to look at this. This sort of replacement theory is one of them. Yeah. Another one is when there's when things are so obviously unfair and so clearly and obviously in your face unjust. I feel, but it happens anyway.
Yeah.
I feel like it does something to you. It's whether it's be a destruction of your self-respect, of your ability to just get yourself going. It's just whatever it is. It just kind of kills you a little bit.
Well, it's
that you just see it happen and it's like, oh, fuck. You get, like I say, you get that word again, apathy. You get apathy towards it. That I don't like it, but what can I do about it? We've been talking about it for years, but nothing's going to change.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, most people then just accept it, and then it becomes the norm. And it's I don't like it, but
what are you going to do?
What are you going to do about it? What are you going to do about it? Exactly.
But that's the point. And like I mentioned briefly COVID a minute ago, and the only reason I did that is obviously the 23rd of March, which is just a couple of days ago, was
yesterday.
Wasn't it? Was the 5-year anniversary of the first lockdown, where basically people of this country agreed to sit in their homes because the government told them to, agreed to not see their mates, not see their family, not go to work and earn a living, not go to the gym and train, not have a social life, snitch on their neighbour.
Embarrassing.
This country became a freaking embarrassment 5 years ago. Now, the whole point of that and the way they got people to do that was with, using behavioural scientists and manipulation through the media and stuff like that. But there was something, and I remember seeing it probably a year into, maybe not even a year, almost a year into the Rona thing. And it was through Amnesty International, and it was something called Biderman's Law of Coercion. And what it was basically these techniques that were used by the military, essentially, to destroy prisoners of war, soldiers, and members of the public, essentially, from the opposition, from the opposing army, by not torturing them, although they were obviously doing that as well, but they were doing it psychologically, how to break these people down. There was various ways that they did it. All of them were the COVID playbook. But one of them was what you've said there, Jay, was if you can get someone to agree to do something that they know is ridiculous and there is no reason for them to do it, that does something to them psychologically that breaks them down. It beaters them completely. And that's what they're doing. Yeah. They're getting you to agree to things and go along with things that you know are nonsense.
Yeah, 100%.
There is a real psychological reason.
Oh yeah, they're trying to break your spirit. Yeah. Trying to completely break your spirit. Trying to make it you feel that no matter what you do, no matter how you might see through it. And there is an arrogance now that the things they do are so obvious. I mean, like the Russian, passport or whatever they might find in the next days. They know that a lot of people will go, "What a load of rubbish," but they'll carry on doing it anyway. Yeah, exactly. So it's that. Almost there's a less of a fear, I would suggest, at the moment for more people finding out this information. But that's going to be their weak point. That is going to be the weak point, because there is a tipping point. Because at some point, when people have nothing left to lose, you don't want to fight someone with nothing left to lose. You really don't.
So moving on, but not really. This is a headline again from the UK. These are kind of UK heavy stories, but all of them apply basically to the West. These things are happening all across the West, across America and stuff. Primary school scraps Easter service to respect other religions. A primary school has been blasted as disgraceful after it scrapped its annual Easter celebration and service to respect diverse religious beliefs. Norwood Primary School in Eastleigh, Hampshire, sent a letter informing parents and carers that their Easter bonnet parade and Easter service will not be taking place this year. They are having a big fundraiser and stuff for refugees, though. They are doing that.
And I bet they'll celebrate Ramadan and Diwali and stuff like that.
Certainly,
probably.
mate. Stephanie Mancher, the school's head teacher. I reckon I could draw a picture of what she looks like.
Blue hair?
Potentially. Who sent the letter, has defended the move by saying it was out of respect for diversity, which is hilarious because it's such an inversion.
Yeah.
We're going to be so diverse that we're going to ban diversity. We're going to ban diverse things. Oh, really? That sounds good, Stephanie. She said, by not holding specific religious celebrations, we aim to create a more inclusive atmosphere by not including anyone. That honours and respects the beliefs of our children and their families. Well, it literally does the opposite of that.
Yeah.
The head teacher later added, we are exploring alternative ways to celebrate the season in future years. Burn a witch, probably. That will be inclusive to all children and reflect the rich cultural diversity of our community. We appreciate your understanding and support as we make this transition. I bet she's into transitions as well.
Yeah, she probably already is.
Okay, so you celebrate diversity by deleting it. That's amazing. Now, for me, what this is about, of course, there's a part of it which is about making you angry.
Yeah, definitely.
And creating an annoyance. And you're not annoyed at Stephanie. Not really. I mean, Stephanie's a bit of a douche. But you're more annoyed at those Muslims coming over here. And that's what it becomes about. It pitches then against, us against each other, basically, as a human family. And another thing it's about, apart from the division, is creating nothingness.
Yep.
Which is what all it is. We live in a diverse society. We're all about, what you want is everything to be nothing.
Yep.
So you can't celebrate that. You can't celebrate that. You can't celebrate that. And it's all well and good. Yes, they're promoting, Ramadan and Diwali and all these things now. And that annoys the natives, obviously, because they're attacking Christianity. But trust me, they'll come for your religion next.
Yeah, they will.
They just tick them off one by one. We'll do this one. We'll do that one. We'll do this one. And they will come for yours, of course, because we're all in the gun sights. That's the freaking point. But this kind of society that they're trying to create is meh.
It is, and at the moment,
it's a nothingness.
At the moment, the reason that Christianity is in the gun sites, and neither of us are Christians, neither of us are going to celebrate Easter in the way you would. We're going to buy the kids Easter eggs, but it's because that is the religion of the West. It is predominantly the religion of the West, and if you want to, you look at across England in particular and America, every town, every village has a church. The church used to be the focal point of the villages. You drive around a tiny little county like Norfolk. 10 scattered houses, enormous church there.
Yeah.
That used to be the epicenter of the community. And to some of the older people, it still is. That's kind of been replaced by the pub, and there's been a tax on that as well.
Again, this week, they're saying the price of beer is going up.
And again, so the point is you're trying to dismantle Western society. Great way to start. If you wanted to dismantle, say the society in somewhere like Saudi Arabia, somewhere like Iran, what would you do? You'd go in and you'd attack Islam. You'd try and make that the enemy. You try and dismantle that. Well, it's the same principle as what they're doing here. They're trying to completely dismantle it. One, because to create anger. One, to create a changing society that people... Because even the likes of us that are not religious, that Christianity is kind of a... all the MPs swear on the Bible when they go into office, as does the president, except Trump. It's kind of ingrained into the society to a degree. So if that changes, it's obvious something has changed. And that anger is a massive part of it, massive part of it. Create a situation where people just see things around them changing. They don't like it. Easter ceremonies in schools were cool. It was a chance for kids to have some fun, do a play. It was a community thing. We've been to loads with either our own children or Erin and Zach, and it's you're just destroying things. You're destroying things for no legitimate reason. And I'd be inclined to say that I doubt anyone from a culture that is not Christian probably made a complaint. Their school have probably just done it off their own back,
100%.
thinking, "Oh, let's do this."
100%.
Like pseudo offended on someone else's behalf, which happens all the time, doesn't it?
100%, mate. 100%. You can apply that to the whole, sort of trans nonsense and gender pronouns and all that sort of stuff. I know trans people. None of them have got an issue with it.
No.
The trans activists are never trans.
No, they're not.
They're just blue-haired weirdos with nothing better to do with themselves.
Absolutely. This is where the parents need to stand up here.
It's all about the parents. That's the thing. Like, it's an interesting thing because, like you're saying, like in terms of MPs, they swear on the Bible. Well, they don't now necessarily because you have obviously members of the parliament that are Muslim. And I saw something.
Well, they swear on a religious text. Don't
Yeah,
they?
but I saw someone kicking off about this yesterday actually, where they were saying, why are Muslims allowed to swear on the Quran to come into Parliament? This is a Christian country. And it's like, okay, I get that to a certain degree, but what you're not realising is actually if you go back into, well, best part of 200 years ago now, that rule that allowed other religions to be allowed to serve as an MP within the establishment was changed so that Rothschild could become a member of Parliament. They don't mention that.
No.
I don't know why they
Leave
don't
that bit
mention
out.
it. Can't imagine why they don't mention it. But like you say, yeah, it's about the parents. If they're going to cancel the Easter bonnet parade and all that sort of stuff, fine. You cancel it, Stephanie. You do that. We'll have our own then.
Yeah.
As parents, we'll get together. We'll organise it. We'll get the kids involved. We'll do it ourselves. And I bet you, if they did that, that you would actually have, not all of them, because you get extremists and idiots in every religion and every group and every faction of society. But I bet you there will be groups from the Indian community, from the Muslim community, maybe from Pakistan, Bangladesh, whatever, that would probably actually join in.
Yeah, they would.
Yeah.
They would. That's the thing. When you got to make these systems obsolete.
Exactly.
If they don't do what you want, if they don't serve you, one head teacher for, I mean, I don't know how big the school is, but probably hundreds of children.
Oh yeah,
Therefore,
be
hundreds
35 a class minimum.
Hundreds
nowadays.
of families that you can, make a stand against what this one person has said and
That's
done.
it. If you don't want to do it, fine, we'll do it ourselves.
Yeah. Well, alongside, again, this sounds a negative story as well, but alongside, dismantling culture, dismantling people's, sense of national pride, national identity, family dynamics, all of those things that we're seeing, we're also being hit harder than ever financially. And, I mentioned in my first story about the national debt that's rising £543 million every single day. Obviously, at some point, that's going to start becoming, an issue for our children, for our grandchildren. And it's very, very plausible that this country could well be in Victorian times, not too far into the future. But this is the story today. Chancellor Rachel Reeves, in an absolute car crash interview she did yesterday with, I can never say her second name, Laura Kuenssberg, the one that...
Kuenssberg.
Yeah. Absolute car crash interview where she just fumbles over everything. She doesn't know anything. And the whole joke about being Rachel from accounts, you wouldn't even hire her as an accounts assistant. She literally cannot answer a straight question. She just dances around stuff and not even particularly well. No. And, when she does try and say statistics and things, she just fumbles. It's embarrassing.
She lies on her CV. That should have disqualified her from the position in the first place.
Completely lies on her CV. And I think, again, when it comes down to you can see the incompetence. It's so obvious. And with this government, with the likes of her, with the likes of Miliband, with the likes of Streeting and all of them, the incompetence is so obvious. But again, what are you going to do about it? That's the apathy to, the people end up with, okay, this clown's in charge, but she's still in charge. And I get that. But, and I don't think that's an accident why they're putting these kind of people in positions of power. So the Chancellor says that she rejects this new analysis that suggests the average family could be £1,400 a year worse off at the end of this decade. So just a few years' time, or 2025 at the moment. Now, she rejects it despite it coming from a variety of different economic sources, a variety of different metrics to use to measure that. One being that the cost of living is going to rise by about £700 a year. Now, I think that's quite conservative. I'd say it's probably going to rise a lot more.
Oh, mate, I think it's inaccurate in the sense there's going to be a hell of a lot more.
I agree. And the other one is that wages are due to fall by £700. Again, I'd say that's quite conservative in that period. Obviously, add those two numbers together, that equals £1,400 worse off.
Yeah. And the more people you let in the country, Jay, the more the wages go down.
Yeah, 100%. 100%. The cost of everything has gone up in recent years, whether it be the cost of rents, whether it be the cost of petrol, whether it be the cost of food, X, Y, and Z. Everything has increased. Energy is obviously the big one that makes the headlines, but everything else has increased dramatically. Yeah. Coincide that with even wages staying the same and people all of a sudden are struggling. If you have £1,000 and your life costs you 500, got 500, all of a sudden that life costs you 800, you've only got 200. Now, you reduce that £1,000 to £800, your life costs you 900, you're £100 in the red every single week or month or whatever. And that's the dynamic, that's the trend, that's the direction of travel. And that's not going to change under this government. It's not. The whole point that they want people better off by the end of this parliament, that's complete BS. Yeah. At the same time, last week they announced that the UK government had lost £10 billion in the month of March. Sorry, month of February. £10 billion it had lost, as in that's what the deficit was. Well, £3 billion of that was given to Ukraine. How does that happen? How can you do that? I can't give somebody £1 million now if I don't have it. So how can they? It is absolute shambles, and they're doing it with your money, and they're doing it, and this is one of the keys, against future assets. Now, those future assets are not theirs. Those future assets are yours, in the sense of they're your taxes, and they're your ability to pay that debt back. They're not paying it back. No. Rachel Reeves will be sat with a pension somewhere by the time our grandkids have to pay in this.
Oh yeah, she'll have a nice little book deal for her autobiography about how difficult it was being called Rachel from accounts by the misogynists.
I know. And basically, the point we want to cover here is that on every single level you can look at, they are attacking us. And this whole idea of future shock, which people have talked about, Dad predicted would come this year as well, which is, you never know what's coming next, and you're always in a state of fear, state of anxiety, because whether it be financial, whether it be conflict, whether it be safety on the streets, whether it be whatever it might be, you're constantly looking around going, what the hell are they going to hit us with next? That, in turn, as I mentioned a minute ago, provides us an opportunity, because there's nothing more dangerous than somebody with nothing left to lose. There's nothing more dangerous. There's nothing more dangerous in the wild than a lion that's hungry. Because what have you got to lose? You've got to leave everything on the table. And there's so many people now, I think, that are terrified about the future. There's an announcement coming this week about cuts to civil service, cuts to public spending. People are sat terrified, waiting to see if that affects them, if that affects their bus passes, if that affects their healthcare, if that affects their free school meals, whatever it might be. There's people sat all around the country today, and you can apply this to other countries as well, who are sat in a state of anxiety, waiting for the news bulletin to come on to see if basically how badly they're going to be screwed this time.
Yeah.
And then, at the next budget, more and more people are going to be sat, whether it be businesses, whether it be individuals, sat going, how the hell are we going to deal with whatever they're going to chuck at us next? I see that as an opportunity. It's a big opportunity. It's a scary time, but it's an opportunity, because at some point, what have you got to lose? When your back's against the wall, what do? Do you come out swinging, or do you just sit down?
Well, we've come to a position now where, there is the famous saying where essentially a government should fear its people. If the people fear its government, you live in tyranny.
Yep.
But that's what we are. Like you've just mentioned there, people are genuinely frightened. They're terrified of what Rachel Reeves is going to announce on the news and how it's going to affect their lives and their children's lives and their grandchildren's lives. That is not right.
No, it's not.
And that's not how it should be. You should be the opposite way of that. There's a whole other conversation about the setup of government anyway, but in the current climate that we have, it should be the opposite of that, where the government is all sat around a table thinking, mate, we can't let these people down. We serve them.
Yep.
This is about, right, we need to get this right. We need to make sure that actually we help people out and that this country prospers and all this kind of stuff. They didn't give a toss.
No.
They couldn't care less. And like you've said there, in terms of the amount of money, this cut to the civil service, which is being sold by Rachel Reeves as cutting the fat off and whatever. It's going, okay, people are going to lose their jobs. Okay, this public service is going to not be quite as good as it was, but we're going to save £2 billion a year. That's amazing. You're giving $3 billion a year to Zelensky.
And that's in February so far. Still 9 months this year for him to give more.
If I put on a silly little Primark tracksuit and pretend I'm a little action man, can you give me $3 billion, please? Is that right? Because surely the same rules should apply.
It is monopoly money, and it like you said earlier, and it is getting to the point now where it's almost becoming a joke.
Well, the country is a joke.
It is a joke.
UK is a joke of a nation.
Well, a complete joke of a nation, and again that ties into that destruction of national pride. And then they try and the joke is they then try and play that off against when they're cutting the foreign aid budget or talk of cutting the foreign aid budget or not giving money to Zelensky. It's like, yeah, but Britain have this rich history of looking after the world, this rich history of taking care of others, and then all of a sudden they're trying to play on that guilt culture that we're very fortunate, so therefore we need to give money to people who are less fortunate. Well, I don't know. If you walk down a high street in any town and city these days, there's a lot of people in this country who are very far from fortunate. There's a lot of families living in abject poverty, yards from where we're recording this, many of them, and every city and town can relate to that. And it's that ridiculous notion now that you can just give money away when there's people at home literally starving.
And it's not going to anyone either.
No, it's not. It's just going to a black hole.
It's not like you're going, okay, do you know what? Okay, people in Ukraine are really struggling. Okay, yeah, all right, yeah, we're struggling here too, but they're struggling more. So let's do our moral duty. Okay, yeah, cheers, sir. And then some money. It's not. The money is going to buy freaking missiles.
Yeah.
to drop on other people that get blown to bits.
Your Lockheed Martin, your BAE Systems, your Boeing, they're the ones making money. No one else is.
This is the thing, right? And we're heading towards another financial collapse, and we had the financial collapse in 2009. And I said this the other day to a mate when we were out walking. We were talking about the fact that all these trillions, they disappeared. No, they freaking didn't.
Yeah, who's got them? Someone has.
Got them. They didn't get put in a freaking incinerator and burnt. They went to someone.
Yeah. And the same thing's happening again.
Yeah, of course it is. But anyway, on a bright note, I don't have a grey beard anymore.
What, have you just fermented it?
I just fermented it. I did. I had a big grey beard, and I thought, you know what? I'm not willing to go old gracefully, so I dyed it brown, and I looked ridiculous. Right? My wife walked in and went, "What have you done?" I went, "I don't know. I've had a midlife crisis."
Going to buy a motorbike next.
I'm going to buy a trike with a personalised number plate, and I'm going to dye this bit here pink, and then me and Stephanie from that primary school are going to go out for a drink.
Yeah, not an Easter celebration though.
No, I won't wear my bonnet.
Right.
So yeah, there we go.
That's exciting.
I tried to bring some light. So yes, the country's on its arse, but look at the state of my face. It can always be worse.
It could always be worse.
There we go. Right.
Exactly. And unlike your face, the country could get better. Yours is only going to decline.
It's only going to go worse. Yeah. Well, what will make it better is another coffee. So now I'm going to become a salesman. Head over to shop.iconic.com.
That's a segue.
And use the code trending, and you get 10% off of all the coffees. There's lots of different things. Ground coffee, instant bean. I don't know. I don't know much about coffee. I just drink it.
Absolutely.
But there you go. And obviously, any profits we make from that go towards my Just for Men addiction.
Amazing. All right. Thanks for watching with us, everybody. Following this show, literally right now, a few seconds time, you're going to see the trailer for our cycle, aren't we, mate?
Yes.
So underneath also the Just Giving page, which is still live. Just over 11.5 grand, I believe, now.
Unbelievable.
So
mate.
any support you continue to give us. The page is going to stay open until Easter Monday, at which point we are going to start dishing that money out to people who need it the most. And we're going to be working with Fiona Hine, the protest organiser and amazing activist on that.
Yeah.
And we'll be sharing more on that in the coming weeks.
Well, we want basically we want to know where every penny's going.
Every penny,
and we want you to know where every penny's going. Obviously, that's why we've kind of almost vaguely said it's going to help the vaccine injured. We've looked at different charities. Obviously, there's loads of charities out there. I understand charities have running costs. So therefore, certain amounts of that money then go into the admin and pay salaries and all that kind of stuff. I get that, but I don't really want that money to go there. So we're looking at kind of trying to pick individuals that need certain things, whether it be a stair lift in their house or wheelchair access or whatever it is. But to assure you incredible people that have donated, I still can't believe the lady donated £1,000.
Yeah,
just
that's
one
just
single
crazy.
lady is absolutely insane. We want you to know exactly where that's gone. So we will, in fear of kind of putting footage out there where it looks like we're going, look how great we are. That's not why we're doing it. We want to show you who's getting the money and what it's being spent on and how it's helping those people.
Well, yeah, absolutely. Prime example, Jamie Lang raised over 2 million last week, making us look very inadequate running five ultras, 5 days. How much of that money will actually go directly to people that need it?
Yeah.
Versus how much will go into the comic relief machine? Was it children in need that were sat on reserves of millions at one point
and
not doing nothing with it?
And we're investing millions in arms.
Whereas this
will be used to drop on kids and kill parents and destroy houses that then 2 years later they'll come back and say donate money for these kids. What, the ones that you invested in the bombs that dropped on them?
Absolutely.
That's another rabbit
Doesn't
hole.
make any
I'm
sense.
not going down that.
But no, with this we want to divide it by however many people we can and give individuals something they can look at and go, well, that's helped me massively.
Yeah.
And that'll all be because of you and your support.
Yeah, we appreciate it. Thanks.
Right. See you tomorrow. Thanks.
See you tomorrow. Bye. We're not cyclists. We never claim to be. It's not something that we do.
It hasn't crossed my mind that they wouldn't do it.
That's gone well.
It's bigger than the memory of Kerry. I think it's about keeping her alive.
It's going to be a fun challenge.
Oh, fuck yeah.
Family of hippos arriving at the waterhole. Oh, I'm next.
Sorry, you go on. What I love about my boys is they see a limit and they think, how do I go beyond it?
She'll be with them every step of the way.